Hello, welcome to another epic ranking. Today I'll be ranking all 10 new releases for February 2022 that I saw. Obviously, I do not have time to give full reviews for every single new release I see every month, and besides, obviously, like the big franchise rankings, like the Scream and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and so those two rankings I did. And so I think this would be a good way to talk about everything I saw each month, and it will be in a timely manner where things are still out in theaters. So maybe if you like what I say about a movie, you'll be like, heck yes, I want to see that. Disclaimer, you may be wondering, why didn't you do this for January? Well, I only saw 2 movies in January because nothing came out. Scream and the 355. Want my quick thoughts? Scream was great, 355 wasn't. Okay, there you go. Anyways, let's talk about the month that just ended, and that is February. Coming in 10th place is going to be The Long Night. I knew absolutely nothing about this movie. I was just looking through IMDb one day, and I was like, whoa, that's a pretty cool poster right there. And so I was pretty intrigued, because I don't know, I just thought skull masks cool. It's a simple brain like mine works. When I watched this movie, it was just so weird and trippy, like with the effects. I don't know, just the way like lighting was in the movie, with like the oversaturation of color with the lighting, and then just like the weird nature of what this like kind of cult is doing, and just how they can like appear and randomly disappear, and they're not dead, and then like I think at one point like a snake crawls out of a dead person's face or something. I don't know, it doesn't make sense. And then there was like another part, there was like a dream sequence, and there was like this naked lady, and then her crotch started to glow like a really bright light, and this movie was so weird, and I honestly don't understand what I watched. Next up, we have Gasoline Alley. The main reason I wanted to check this movie out is because those 3 dudes on the poster over there, got Bruce Willis, Devon Sawa, and Luke Wilson. I was like, whoa, those are some cool people. I wonder what this will be like. And it's just another one of those Bruce Willis direct-to-streaming, direct-to-DVD videos that he's been relegated to for like the past 3 years. That's absolute trash. Basically, murder mystery where the suspect starts investigating because he knows that he's innocent. Yeah, it's a nice concept, I'll give it that, but the twist is blatantly obvious. I figured it out within the first 20 minutes of the movie, and I was just like, yep, I know where this is going. Like, it's not a really interesting mystery when you can figure it out that early. And besides the fact that it was easy to figure out, this movie was just boring throughout the whole way through. So, yeah, nice concept and nice cast, but really generic and boring plot. Next up, we have Blacklight. This is the latest Liam Neeson action thriller thing, and I just thought this movie was totally bland and forgettable. You have, the Liam Neeson thriller template where he's a guy who can beat people up, but then he's got family troubles, and he wants to be a better part of his family, and blah, 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 blah. Like, I've seen this movie 10 times before from Liam Neeson. Like, this is all he makes anymore. I want to see him do more things besides just these generic action thrillers that he cranks out like every 3 months, it seems like. And they even try adding like different elements to his character in each one of them. Like in this one, he has like this like OCD, I guess, is what they call it in the movie, where he has to like do everything 3 times, like lock a door 3 times, or turning a stove on 3 times. It's like, okay, that's an interesting thing to add to your character, but then they don't do anything with it. So yeah, this movie's just totally bland and forgettable, and just I've seen this thing 10 times before. Next up, we have The Cursed. Yeah, this is a like monster werewolf type movie. It's kind of like a mesh between the two. Um, and certainly I enjoy the monster aspect of this story, and the werewolf side of it is actually pretty interesting. It's kind of a twist on the genre, I guess. Um, some really nice practical effects work, I will say, in this movie. Like, that's the one thing I walked away from this movie going like, dang, that was really good. It was the practical effects. Also, the characters are pretty well written and stuff. Story, all that stuff is great. Just, I don't like this type of time period for movies, like old, I want to say like 1700s sort of stuff just doesn't work for me. I honestly don't know why. I just do not like that setting at all for movies. I can never get into a movie that's like that. And then the second thing, which is totally just for me, this is probably one of the worst theater experiences I've ever had. When I saw this movie, there was a group of like 6 kids in there, and they were like talking and running in and out of the theater the whole time. It was annoying, and so I was kind of mad before the movie even started. So maybe I'll give this one a second shot someday, and maybe I'll like it a lot better. But yeah, there's certainly things I really did enjoy about this movie, but then just paired with the negative experience and the time period I hate, yeah, this is a movie that I'm just like, it was fine. Next up is currently, for me, in the running for most disappointing movie of the year, and that has to be Death on the Nile. This, I believe, was in my top 3 for most anticipated of the year. I love Murder on the Orient Express from 2017, I believe. And so I've been really curious and anxious to see what the follow-up to that is, and finally got it, Death on the Nile, just a few weeks ago. So I went to go see this movie, and whereas in Murder on the Orient Express, the twist totally just came out of nowhere and was really well done and all that, I figured this twist out pretty much immediately as the mystery started. Yeah. I mean, the acting in this movie is great. It's another one of those all-star casts, and I typically love those types of movies. So yeah, everyone does a great job in this movie, but I think the overall twist of this movie you can see coming from a mile away, and I easily figured this twist out, and that is not what I want from a murder mystery movie. So yeah, this was a huge disappointment for me, but if you like murder mysteries, it's very well done. It's just not an amazing twist, but it's a well done, well made movie. Bringing us into the top half of this list, we're going to have Moonfall. Yes, a destruction of Earth movie, like one of these Armageddon, Day After Tomorrow type of movies. The main thing that I was really excited for this movie was that Patrick Wilson was the lead. I love Patrick Wilson. That guy's awesome every single time he pops up in something. I love his part of that movie, and I love that guy. I hope he gets way more roles. I want to see him in so many more things. And so seeing him shift away from the more dramatic roles that he typically takes, and seeing him kind of do more of like action blockbuster sort of thing with Moonfall, I was like, whoa, that might be an interesting change of pace for him. And while I certainly think that he is good in this movie, like, he's great in this movie, love Patrick Wilson, the whole story and like the reveal of what what's happening, it did not work for me at all. It totally lost me, and I was like, okay, that sort of just happened. It's just kind of like meh, you know? So, it's not bad, but it's not a movie I find myself ever wanting to revisit, I guess. Coming in fourth place is a movie I just talked about a few days ago, and that is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah, I thought this movie was pretty decent. One of the better entries in the franchise. Love the gore, love Leatherface in this movie. I thought the setup was different enough. This movie definitely put Massacre in the title for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the only movie in this series that I think's worthy of a title Massacre. But it's just kind of more Texas Chainsaw stuff, you know? While the concept is kind of different, it feels very formulaic for Texas Chainsaw. Yeah. I also thought bringing back Sally Hardesty was a huge misstep. Like, it just... I don't think it fits this franchise, and the way they treat her character in this movie was awful, and no. Well, there are certainly a lot of good things about this movie. I just think the lows are pretty low. So, very middle of the road movie, but a pretty decent Texas Chainsaw movie. Bringing us into the top 3 is going to be Uncharted. As a point of reference, I am someone who has never played an Uncharted game, so I went into this movie with no expectations basically for what the film should be. I was just like, cool. Indiana Jones with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, right? So yeah, that's kind of what I went into this movie looking for, and you know what? It delivered on that. It was a fun adventure. There were some really cool action set pieces, some nice spectacle, all that fun stuff that I want from just a nice Hollywood blockbuster, you know? Like, is this reinventing cinema? No. Is this gonna be best of the year material? No. It's just a good enough time at the movies, and nothing more, nothing less, right? Coming in second place is going to be Jackass Forever. This is the hardest I've laughed in a movie theater for probably over 5 years. This movie is hilarious. This is definitely the type of movie you want to go with a big group of your friends with and just sit down and just laugh the entire movie. Yeah. And this is kind of a tough movie to place, right? Because there's no, like, story, no characters, themes, script, plot, any of that stuff that I typically think about when I go to see a movie. It's just kind of like a series of shorts put together. But this movie's just so funny, man. Yeah, so not a movie I would recommend for everybody, but if you liked all the previous Jackass stuff, you'll have just as much fun with this movie. I know I certainly did. I thought this was a really nice send-off to all those guys, as this kind of being their last one. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I thought it was freaking hilarious. But coming in first place is actually the last movie I watched in February 2022, and that's going to be Dog. You know, if you look at this movie on surface level, it's just kind of one of those road trip movies, like we got to get to point A to point B in a certain amount of time, and all these hijinks ensue along the way. You know, seen that movie plenty of times before. But I think Channing Tatum gives a really good performance in this movie. As well, I guess, where credit is due, the dog, Lulu, in the movie. freaking loved Lulu. uh, I don't know. I have 4 dogs, so I don't know. I'm kind of biased towards dogs. Yeah, this is definitely the biggest feel-good movie I've seen all year. I was just sitting in the theaters, and I'm just, I was just sitting there so happy. I was like, yes, this is the one movie that I saw this month that I just left the theater, and I was like, you know what, that put me in such a good mood. So, yeah, it comes in first place for the month of February 2022. Alright, so thanks for watching this epic ranking of all 10 movies I saw in February 2022. Tune in just a few days when I do my ranking of all the theatrically released Batman movies. We're going to have Batman 66, the original run of 4 films from the 90s, the animated movie Mask of the Phantasm, the Nolan trilogy, Batman v Superman, Lego Batman movie, the 2 versions of Justice League, all put together in one epic list of Batman. Hope you enjoyed, and see ya next time.